Okay, let's hit
The other thing, Tom, that I want everybody to be aware of is in this bill that passed the House on October 8th, included a couple of key sections of the bill that are as wide-ranging potentially changes as anything else in the ERISA law. That is that there are some sponsors and advocates within the committees that advise these congressional members to make anybody that would give 401k advice a co-fiduciary on the money. So let's say you work at a place where you can self-direct your IRA, your 401k plan, and you take.
Let's say I work at Philip Morris.
Philip Morris.
And I don't really have that, but let's just.
Okay. Well,
throw a name.
Philip Morris probably doesn't have a plan you can self-direct, but let's say you're working off a menu of 15 funds. Okay. If the ERISA laws go through as they're proposed, and you can pay me for advice on your option menu of options, either in pre-tax dollars out of your paycheck as a deduction, or in pre-tax dollars out of the balance in the money market in your 401k plan, you could pay me that way too, or as a separate cafeteria menu plan item, which means that you put a certain amount of money away for child care, for medical expenses. They want to add a separate basket now for legal and investment advice as another benefits offering. You could build up that pool, and that'll pay me out of pre-tax dollars. But if I advise you for a fee, I am now a co-fiduciary on your money. So any advisor that would take on that fee-based business would have to follow what's called a fiduciary standard of care.
The prudent man rule.
Prudent man rule, right. That's going to be a major deal. Now, if you work at a company that can self-direct, and I physically take hold of your 401k plan, and I'm at work at XYZ brokerage firm, and I'm a broker, registered Series 7 NASD broker, I also am going to be co-fiduciary. So if you've been retired for 10 years and I have your Philip Morris rollover, I am a co-fiduciary. How are the broker-dealers going to deal with that from a liability standpoint? I'm not a broker anymore, and you didn't sign up on all that arbitration papers and all that stuff you signed when you open up a new account. I am now co-fiduciary. I am on the hook for as much as your plan sponsor was for the performance on these assets. That's a big deal.
Maybe that's why a lot of firms have chosen not to get involved in this.
The fiduciary language is as scary to broker-dealers as anything else in ERISA law changes. I'm going down in December.
But it's something that we routinely do at Dorsey Wright Money Management.
Oh, absolutely. All the time. All the time.
It's not unusual to us.
This business, you should be fiduciary of your client's money, whatever account you have, Tom, and follow the prudent man rule.
Well, that's supposed to be Rule 405.
Exactly. But brokers now don't think about that mostly, and their firms don't think about that stuff. Because when you're in a co-fiduciary standpoint, there's a heck of a lot more risk than you are if you're just a broker and just working on an account. That's a whole different deal. I'm going down in December to there's been an institute started about a year ago that a couple of Dorsey Wright guys on the chat room have got me involved with, and that they've already gone through. And it's training on the fiduciary standard of care. It works mainly now with the guys that go out and advise, like the big union money, the Taft-Hartley money, the defined benefit money, that basically search for managers. And a lot of the criteria and the format for the 3 days is how to do a manager search, how to do an investment policy statement, how to do a selection, how to monitor. The other part of it is how to develop a fiduciary standard of care to how you do your business. I would think that if this ERISA law goes through, either where you can provide the advice if you're broker of record, or if you cannot be broker of record. If you have the point and figure tools and follow that fiduciary standard of care, you're bulletproof as far as anything going forward as far as liability.
You have a method.
You have a method. You have a measurable performance. You have benchmarks. You have fiduciary standard of care. That's where the industry's going, and that's why I wanted to get down to this thing in December and follow that. Of course, I'll update you with what I find.
You could follow our monitored portfolios that we do with Nationwide, which we're trying to get on some firms' platforms.
Exactly.
I mean, those things are great. You could do the ETF manager that we have if you had ETFs allowed in there.
Perfect.
I mean, those are the kinds of things where you have a defined approach.
Yes.
That you're not interjecting your own thought process
Exactly.
so far. Your thought process is you understand the strategy, why relative strength, what's happening, but it's a mechanical program that follows along with this straight line concept.
Exactly. You mentioned that ETF thing, Tom. I've helped a lot of my clients in the last couple of years dig deeper into their 401k offering. And I have two of my largest client firms now in the last 3 months or 4 months find out that they have an additional self-directed option separate from their main menu plan. One of which is a totally self-directed option that they can transfer all their money to. A lot of clients in that group or pool of assets have asked me, Rick, do we really want to be buying mutual funds now? The iShare is a perfect product for that.
Right.
To overcome people's...
It makes a lot more sense to me than mutual funds.
Exactly.
I mean, especially if you've got an 88% correlation to the S&P, then
absolutely
the iShares offer you much more flexibility, much less cost.
Yes.
Than a mutual fund itself.
And the other thing you're doing is when you educate a client on how much management fees they're paying now to the broker of record, or internal cost of the mutual fund, you're up around 2-3% in a lot of cases. I've actually cold called people and said, you're paying these guys now, and they've lost you a third, 45, what do you name the number, percentage? I'll do it for half what they're charging you, and you're not going to lose that much money on my watch, and I can prove it to you based on the other guys I work with down the hall.
Hopefully they don't lose any money.
They haven't lost any money to date, but you got a plan, is what the bottom line is.
Right. Exactly.
So you can make pretty decent fees, Tom, just charging a very low basis for fees on the assets, using these other options like iShares, and getting these guys out of the high fee platforms like on these mutual funds that they don't even know they're paying.
Interesting. Well, we could be here all day. What I'd like you to do sometime, when you finish that course you're going down to.
December 8th through 10, I think it is.
Then maybe the first of the year we'll stop back and you tell me what you learned.
Absolutely.
We'll put it on the...
put it on the share. Make the guys aware that it's something they might want to look into.
Well, thanks for giving me the time here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Tom.
It's always real beneficial to
it's always a real pleasure
our
to
clients.
do this. Thanks.